Human chromosomes. What is a karyotype? A karyotype shows the complete diploid set of chromosomes grouped together in pairs, arranged in order of decreasing size. This, as shown, is a human karyotype. Is this a male or a female? To find out what makes us uniquely human, we have to explore the human genome. A genome is a full set of genetic information that an organism carries in its DNA. A study of any genome starts with chromosomes, the bundles of DNA and protein found in the nuclei of eukaryotic cells. To see human chromosomes clearly, cell biologists photograph cells in mitosis when the chromosomes are fully condensed and easy to view. Scientists then cut out the chromosomes from the photographs and arrange them in a karyotype. It shows the complete diploid set of chromosomes grouped together in pairs, arranged in order of decreasing size. A karyotype from a typical human cell, which carries 46 chromosomes, is arranged in 23 pairs. Is it a karyotype of a male or a female? The XY chromosomes, this is the X chromosome, this is the Y chromosome. The X allele from the mother, and in this case, a Y from the father, though it could have been an X from the father. 2 of the 46 chromosomes in the human genome are known as sex chromosomes because they determine if an individual is male or female. Females have 2 copies of X chromosome, males have 1 X chromosome and 1 Y chromosome. This Punnett square illustrates why males and females are born at roughly 50-50 ratio. All human egg cells carry a single X chromosome. The female carries an X chromosome, either this one or this one. Males, however, they either carry an X or they carry a Y in a 50-50 ratio. This is why just about half the zygotes are male and half female. More than 1,200 genes are found in the X chromosome, some of which are shown here. The human Y chromosome is much smaller than the X chromosome and contains only about 140 genes, most of which are associated with male sex and sperm development. The remaining 44 human chromosomes are known as autosomal chromosomes or autosomes. The complete human genome consists of 46 chromosomes, including 44 autosomes and 2 sex chromosomes. To quickly summarize the total number of chromosomes present in the human cell, biologists write 46, XX for female and 46, XY for males. What patterns of inheritance do human traits follow? Some human traits follow a pattern of simple dominance. The alleles for some human genes display codominance in inheritance. Because the X and Y chromosomes determine sex, the genes located on them show a pattern of inheritance called sex-linked. Some human traits show a pattern of simple dominance. For example, a gene known as MC1R helps determine skin and hair color. Some of MC1R's recessive alleles produce red hair. An individual with red hair usually has 2 sets of these recessive alleles, inheriting a copy from each parent. Dominant alleles for the MC1R gene help produce darker hair colors. Another trait that displays simple dominance is the rhesus or Rh blood group. The allele for Rh factor comes in 2 forms, Rh positive and Rh negative. The Rh positive is dominant, so an individual with both alleles, Rh positive, Rh negative, or only positive, Rh positive, Rh positive, is said to have Rh positive blood. Rh negative blood is found in individuals with 2 recessive alleles, Rh negative and Rh negative, one from each parent. The alleles for some human genes display codominant inheritance. Codominance is when 2 alleles are equal, neither is dominant over the other, nor recessive. One example is the ABO blood group, determined by a gene with 3 alleles. In this case, IA, a dominant, capital IB, also dominant, and then I recessive, which is O. This table shows the relationship between genotype and phenotype for ABO blood. If a patient has A blood phenotype, it means the individual has a genotype of I capital A and I capital A alleles from the ABO gene, or it could possibly have capital I A and I alleles, so A and O. So for the A, capital IA dominant, capital IA dominant, from each parent gives you A type blood, or capital IA dominant over the recessive O, which will also give you A type blood. Alleles capital IA and capital IB are codominant. They produce molecules known as antigens on the surface of red blood cells. Individuals with alleles capital IA and capital IB produce both A and B antigens, making them blood type AB. So when they're both present, one from each parent, capital IA, capital IB, then you have type AB blood. For a final example, if a patient has O blood, it means that the individual has I alleles, one from each parent, for the ABO gene, both recessive genes. O-type blood, the phenotype, would be a genotype of small I. The genes located on the X and Y chromosomes show a pattern of inheritance called sex-linked. A sex-linked gene is a gene located on a sex chromosome. Genes on a Y chromosome are found only in males and are passed directly from father to son. Genes located on an X chromosome are found on both sexes, but the fact that men have just one X chromosome leads to some interesting consequences. For example, humans have 3 genes responsible for color vision, all located on the X chromosome. In males, a defective allele for any of these genes results in color blindness, an inability to distinguish certain colors. The most common form is red-green color blindness. It occurs about 1 out of 12 males. Among females, however, color blindness affects only about 1 in 200. In order for the recessive allele, like color blindness, to be expressed in females, it must be present in 2 copies, one on each of the X chromosomes. The recessive phenotype of sex-linked genetic disorders tend to be much more common among males than among females. If just one X chromosome is enough for cells in males, how does the cell adjust to the extra X chromosome in female cells? In female cells, most of the genes in one of the X chromosomes are randomly switched off, forming a dense region in the nucleus known as a Barr body. Barr bodies are generally not found in males because their single X chromosome is still active. X chromosome inactivation also happens in other mammals. In cats, a gene that controls color or coat spots is located on the X chromosome. A 3-colored domestic male cat is not genetically possible without a mutation. So if this has just brown and black, that could be a male. This one, however, with white, black, and brown is a female. What is your pedigree? The information gained from pedigree analysis makes it possible to determine the nature of genes and alleles associated with inherited human traits. What could your descendants expect from you? To analyze the pattern of inheritance followed by a particular trait, you can use a chart called a pedigree, which shows the relationship within a family. A pedigree shows the presence or absence of a trait according to the relationship between parents, siblings, and offspring. This pedigree shows one human trait, a white lock of hair just above the forehead, passes through 3 generations of a family. the allele for the white forelock trait is dominant. This portion in the hair turns white. So the presence of white forelock present in the male and not in the female. And they have 3 kids, a male, female, and a female. So the trait is present in the male, marries a female, and they have 2 females that one has the trait and one does not. On this case, the female marries a male without the trait, and they have 3 kids, a male that does not have the trait, a male that does, and a female that does. So based on what we see, what can we conclude about the dominance and the characteristic of this trait? Is it sex related? At the top of the chart is a grandfather who has a white forelock trait. 2 of his 3 children inherited the trait. 1, 2 out of the 3. 3 grandchildren have the trait, but 2 do not. 3 have the trait and 2 do not. Because the white forelock trait is dominant, all the family members in the pedigree lacking this trait must have homozygous recessive alleles. One of the grandfather's children lacks the white forelock trait, so the grandfather must be heterozygous for this trait. The grandfather must have 1 recessive gene to combine with a 2 recessive in the wife. The information gained from pedigree analysis makes it possible to determine the nature of genes and alleles associated with inherited human traits. Based on a pedigree, you can often determine if an allele for a trait is dominant or recessive, or is autosomal or sex-linked.